Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be a romance recommendation. It's been a couple of months since I've done a romance recommendation video. I just haven't been in the mood to do them, but I don't know, for some reason I really wanted to do one, so I'm doing the brother's best friend romance trope. I have a bunch of recommendations. As always, am going to go in depth for about 6 recommendations, and then I do have a couple more that I'm probably just going to quickly mention. I would still obviously recommend them, but I'm just not going to give full details about them. Also, before we get into all these recommendations, I am planning to do another romance recommendation this month, so please let me know what trope or subgenre that you want me to give recommendations for. Also, if you didn't know, there is a website dedicated to giving recommendations for specific tropes. It's called lovetropes.com. So if you're ever just looking for a book that has a specific trope, you can look on that website. They have pretty much every single trope, and they give at least like a dozen recommendations for each of them. So I would highly recommend checking it out if you haven't already. So let's get into all of the recommendations. The first one is Love Story by Lauren Lane. So this follows Lucy, who gets a job in San Francisco. Her car isn't in the greatest shape to make it all the way to San Francisco from Virginia, and her family suggests that she do the road trip with her older brother's best friend, but she really doesn't want to because he was the guy who took her virginity and broke her heart after, and so she really wants nothing to do with him. She kind of wants to move on, but obviously they are forced to be together on this road trip, and so it is also kind of a little bit of second chance romance as well. It's been a really long time since I've read this book, so I don't fully remember everything about it, but I did give it 4 stars, and I do remember it being a really quick and fun read, so I would highly recommend it. I would also just recommend checking out Lauren Lane in general because she has a lot of fantastic books. The next one I recommend is Make Me Yours by Melanie Harlow. This is technically the second book in the Bellamy Creek series. So this follows our female character who is a teacher, and she lives next door to her older brother's best friend, and she has always had a crush on him. He is also a single dad. They've always been super close just because their families have always been very close, and I'm pretty sure one night she sends a text, but it's to the wrong person, and he gets the text and it obviously wasn't meant for him, but I think it was about him. It kind of makes him see her in a whole different light. They kind of start a little bit more of a friendship that turns into more. I loved the characters and the romance, and I loved the whole like friend group. I just thought it was a very sweet and heartfelt romance, and I definitely recommend it. Then we have Dax by Sawyer Bennett. This is the 4th book in the Arizona Vengeance series, and this is a hockey romance. It follows Dax, who has a very successful hockey career. He is playing in the NHL, and he's very focused on his career. And our female character, Reagan, shows up to his place kind of unexpected. They're kind of thrown together because Reagan's brother has passed away, and they obviously are both grieving the loss. Reagan is also dealing with a health condition, and so Dax suddenly asks her to marry him because he feels like that's the only way that he can truly help her in this situation. This is one of my favorites by Sawyer Bennett. I just really loved the way that she wrote both characters and their romance, and I loved how it also mixed in Marriage of Convenience. It also has a very fun friend group that's very much involved. I just feel like this is a really great brother's best friend romance, and if you haven't read it yet, you definitely should. The next one is Little Lies by Helena Hunting. This one's a little bit different. It is college new adult. This is also a spin-off of 2 of Helena Hunting's other series, so the Pucked series and the All In series. It's about the kids from those. They start dating, so it's kind of a crossover. This follows Lavender and Cody, who have always been kind of really close when they were children, and they kind of had this codependency friendship, but Lavender struggles a lot with social situations, and she kind of had a very traumatic thing happen to her when she was a kid, so she heavily depended on Cody a lot, and Cody kind of was like her knight in shining armor. He really protected her. Obviously, as they grew older, it was very unhealthy how they depended on each other. Now they're a lot older, and they don't really communicate at all. They really don't hang out. But obviously they kind of want to get over the past, and they slowly have to deal with that because they are in each other's lives. I mean, he's friends with her brother and she's always around her brother, so he's just always there. So they kind of have to deal with this situation and deal with the trauma that happened when she was a kid. I'm not explaining this book very well. It's a lot heavier than I am making it out to be, and I feel like it does deal with mental health a lot. I don't know, I just thought it was very refreshing, especially for this author. The next one I have to recommend is Hot House Flower by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is technically like a spin-off of the Addicted series, kind of a continuation in my opinion. If you want to get technical, it is the second book in the Calloway Sisters series, and this follows Reich and Daisy, and you kind of see them throughout the whole Addicted series, but this is their own book. Daisy and Reich have always been around each other because their siblings are dating. Daisy has always had a crush on Reich, and Reich has only really ever seen her as like a little kid, a little sister. I mean, he has been attracted to her, but like he knew it was never going to go anywhere. But Daisy is finally 18, and suddenly she becomes very brave and she wants to pursue Reich. I feel like Reich really just, he finally gives in, to be honest. I mean, they've always been really close, by the way. Like, they've always been like really close, very much best friends. Daisy has shared a lot with Reich over the years. Like, she feels like she can only ever truly be honest with him. So they've always had a very close friendship. So obviously that blossomed into more. I really, really love this book. I don't talk about the series that much anymore, but I really, really love it. And I love Reich and Daisy. Does this even fit for Brother's Best Friend? Now that I'm thinking about it. It's kind of complicated, but I feel like it really fits for this trope because it has like the forbiddenness to it. And they kind of hide a little bit of their relationship, I guess. So I just feel like it works, even if it maybe doesn't. I'm putting it in this video. And then the last one that I'm going to go more in depth for is Filthy Lies by Rain Miller. This is technically the second book in the Blackstone Dynasty series. You don't have to read the first one. They are about separate characters. So Winter has always had a crush on her brother's best friend. Ever since she was like 15, she's always had a crush on him. Obviously, he never saw her that way. 8 years later, suddenly he proposes marriage to her, but obviously it's for a very specific reason. She feels like it's a lot more than that. He is kind of a dark, mysterious guy. He's got a lot of secrets. This is a little bit, I wouldn't say it's like BDSM. Like, I would say it's a little bit more erotica. I loved both characters. I loved the romance. Again, it had one of my favorite tropes, which is marriage of convenience. This is another one that definitely stands out to me when I think of this trope. So those were all 6 that I mainly wanted to recommend. Now I'm going to go through quickly a couple of other ones. So obviously we have Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. Our male character is a baseball player, and our female character plans children's parties. There's also a little bit of fake dating in here. It was really cute. Definitely recommend it if you haven't read it yet. Sultry by Lexi Buchanan. This one is a rock star romance. This one's very cliche. The writing isn't the best, but I really loved the characters and the story. Like, the story really gripped me. It was very forbidden. It was very angsty. It just really worked for me, and it's actually like one of my favorite books. Even though it's like not the best, I still really love it. Sweet Torment by Georgia Cates is another really great brother's best friend romance. The male character is also her tutor. It's not very long, but I remember it being very spicy and I really liked it. I gave it like 4 stars. So this one was definitely a very good one. Of course, I can't forget to mention Beautiful Player by Christina Lauren. This is technically the 3rd book in the Beautiful Bastards series. This is also kind of friends to lovers. Our female character needs more experience in dating, so she asks her older brother's best friend for help. I remember really loving this book, and I'm pretty sure it's like one of my favorites by Christina Lauren. Dr. Dearest by R.S. Gray. This is a little bit of a newer one. Our female character is training, I think, as a nurse, and our male character is a doctor, and they kind of are forced to train together, but they kind of grew up together a little bit. Obviously, he's best friends with her brother. She's always really liked him, but he's never really saw her that way. and they now have to kind of spend more time together. This one was a little bit more slow burn and angsty, but I really enjoyed it, so I would definitely recommend it. Another one that I recommend is Go With Me by Alyssa Patrick. This is technically the second book in the With Me series. This is another college romance. It follows our female character who was in a car accident, and she's kind of struggling with a lot of that, but the only person that's really helping her is her brother's best friend. But they also kind of have a little bit of a hate to love going on. Very fun. I remember really loving this book. Another one is Be With Me by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This one is very dramatic, and I feel like this one is very 2014. But I remember loving it and being obsessed with it. Another one that I have to recommend, which is very different from any of the other ones I've recommended, is Rush by Maya Banks. This is definitely more erotic. It is very steamy. I definitely recommend it if you want something like very intense and very forbidden, I guess. And the last book that I have to recommend is Just For Now by Abby Glines. This is the fourth book in the Sea Breeze series. This is again kind of a college new adult romance. Our male character is kind of a bad boy and the female character is a goody two-shoes essentially. Our female character just can't help herself, so she pursues him and they kind of have to sneak around a lot. It's very dramatic, very fun, and this is actually one of my favorites by Abby Glines. I really love it. I just loved both characters and the romance, so I would definitely recommend this one for this trope. I just really love this one. So those were all my romance recommendations for the brother's best friend trope. Let me know if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them, or if you have any other recommendations for this specific trope, please leave them down below. And let me know also what other trope or subgenre that you want me to recommend next. I will also leave a link to my romance recommendation playlist in the info box if you want to look at any of the other recommendation videos that I've done before. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!